Every country on Earth carries debt, trillions for the US, billions for India, and massive sums for Japan. But if all nations are in debt, who are they borrowing from? The answer reveals a complex and critical aspect of global economics, the nature of sovereign debt and who holds the reins. Unlike individuals, countries don't aim to fully repay their debt. Sovereign debt, or national debt, arises when a government's spending exceeds its revenue. Far from being inherently negative, debt can drive growth by funding infrastructure, healthcare, defense, and social programs. Managed well, it fuels economic progress, much like a business loan. Mismanaged, it risks economic collapse. So, who lends to governments? The sources are varied. Countries borrow from one another. China lends to the US to developing nations, and so on. Private investors, including banks, hedge funds, and pension funds, purchase government bonds for profit. Central banks sometimes lend by issuing new money, essentially borrowing from their own economies. International institutions like the IMF and World Bank step in as emergency lenders during crises. No single entity controls the system. It's a web of governments, investors, and global organizations. This system traces back to the post-World War II era and the Bretton Woods Agreement, which established the US dollar as the global reserve currency, initially tied to gold. In 1971, the US abandoned the gold standard, ushering in fiat currency, money backed by trust, not physical assets. Debt became central to the system. Nations borrow to grow. Growth generates tax revenue, and taxes service interest payments, maintaining lender confidence in a continuous cycle. When this cycle breaks, the consequences are severe. A sovereign default, when a country can't repay its debt, can trigger currency devaluation, inflation, civil unrest, and even government collapse. Argentina has defaulted 9 times, Greece nearly destabilized the Eurozone, and Sri Lanka recently faced shortages of fuel and cash. Loss of confidence in a nation's economy can unravel the system rapidly. Could all debt be canceled? In theory, yes, but it would devastate the global financial system. Defaulting on debt erodes trust, deters investors, and halts lending, potentially collapsing banks and economies. Debt relies on confidence. Without it, the system falters. Most countries don't aim to eliminate debt, but to manage it strategically. They roll over debt by borrowing anew to pay old obligations, while inflation reduces the real value of what's owed. As long as economies grow and investors buy bonds, the system persists. It's a delicate balance, not a race to zero debt. So in this twisted global game of IOUs, who wins? The countries that borrow smart, invest right, and grow their economies. The losers? The ones that borrow recklessly, overspend, and ignore warning signs. Every country is in debt. But not every country is doomed. Because in this game of money and power, it's not about how much you owe, it's about how well you play the game. If your brain just leveled up, smash that like button, hit subscribe, and drop a comment telling us what blew your mind the most. This is how the world really works, and we've got a lot more coming your way.